Hi everyone, welcome to my channel for some Guardium collectors administration consideration based on my experience as professional services with IBM and my recent practical experience at AIM, where I manage by myself about 50 collectors without this taking more than 10 to 20% of my time. So, in this video I'm going to talk about alerting in Guardium. Alerting is potentially a controversial topic as the alerting technique used by Guardium is in a sense a bit outdated. So I will present to you two ways to handle the alerts. Both are put in place and I use myself successfully. So it's not just recommendation, it's I use them and it worked. So let's start. In general, so let's talk about the scope of alerting. So, in general, an alerting system works by raising an alert, right? And the alert stays up until someone fixes the issue and brings the alert down. Okay, Guardium alerting works differently. And it works as follows. So an event triggers an alert. Okay, the alert is sent as a message, either as email, syslog, or SNMP trap. The alert is triggered on a specific frequency you set up, and the message is therefore sent on that frequency as long as the event keeps occurring. So, for example, let's take the example of an alert of MySQL disk usage. So, let's say you have set up the alert when the MySQL disk usage reaches 80%, right? So, you have set up the alert to be triggered every hour. The result of that is a message will be sent every hour as long as MySQL disk usage on that collector is 80% or above. Okay, so there are three main types of message to send alerts. The most common one is the email. The most integrated one is syslog to a SIM. And there is another one which is a SNMP trap. By experience, I know that syslog may be a no-no as it will generate extra license cost on the SIM. Okay. So sometimes you are just being told no, don't send to the SIM. So SNMP trap is SNMP is a great tool, but it requires to have a SNMP environment, which company don't necessarily have. However, companies always have an email system, right? And therefore, it's why email is in general the most common, because everything is in place for using it. Okay, so here we need to discuss the challenges, because there are challenges. First challenge, it may generate a sheer amount of email. Let's say you've got 400 collectors, you've got let's say 3 or 4 alerts generated, set up on that collector, on those collectors. Let's say you've got at least 1 or 2 alerts of sent every day by each collector. So basically you are going to receive 800, let's say if it's 2 for example a day, you're going to receive 800 emails in your inbox every day. Okay, so the share, and this is where it's low. The amount of alert, it's low per agent, per collector. as soon as it gets a little bit hairy, the numbers can really explode. Okay, so the second thing, it's related to that, it's those messages are not centrally managed because each team member will receive them and will have to handle them individually, and you may and it becomes the responsibility of the team member, right? Since there is no standard and common way of handling them. Then the third thing, it's Outlook inbox becomes your main tool for managing potentially large volumes of alerts. So now Outlook becomes your main alert managing tool. Outlook is not necessarily done for that, right? So what I'm going to show you is how you can set up Outlook to be a little bit efficient. It's a system I put in place and I used for several months, and it works. It just requires quite a bit of discipline, right? And I'm going to show you, but it works. Second challenge, it's the alerts do not provide context information. So meaning that when you receive an alert, you have to start a work and a process to generate the contextual information that are needed for you to address the alert and the issue. So, for example, your collector is almost full. The alert is just going to tell you that. What you need to know, it's what agent created these surge of traffic, and what collectors may be available to receive this traffic instead of the current collector. So this is contextual information the alert is not going to provide you with. And if you have to generate and work on generating the contextual information for each alert you receive, then if you receive 800 alerts a day, it becomes a lot of work. So therefore, even with an efficient or quite efficient management of Outlook, I'm going to show you with rules and folders, you may very well experience, and you will experience, the well-known alert fatigue. So, alert fatigue is something which is very, very well known, right? If you do a Google, right, and you Google, look, the first one that pops up, it's cybersecurity alert fatigue, right? It's not something invented, right? It's really serious. And for example, here in Tech Target, there is an article. There is plenty of articles on alert fatigue. But here, for example, what is alert fatigue in cybersecurity? And here it says managing too many alerts, right? Alerting that is not properly tuned or false positives can cause alert fatigue here. And here it says, okay, so if a security analyst knows this and decides to ignore what they think is a false positive, there is a chance they might miss a real threat. Okay, so you're gonna manage. The key point is actually here, right? If a cybersecurity system gives out many false and redundant alarms, or even if they are not, right, false and redundant, then security analysts may begin treating them accordingly and assume most of the alerts are false. This could lead to a missed real alert, slow response time, and potentially infected system. Paying attention to all alerts, however, can also lead to burnout. Okay, so and don't even when the alert is real, so if there are too many, it's way too much to deal with, right? And some will end up being considered as not that serious, really, and will be looked over. So it's really a very serious problem, and it has to be taken into account. Then, therefore, situation generating alert fatigue should really be avoided, right? So don't set up an alert and alert here for that, blah, blah. You're gonna be swamped with alert, and you're gonna miss the important one. Okay. So now there are two ways to handle alerts in Guardium, right? So the first one, it's what I used many years back. Upon request of the Guardium team lead of a very large financial institution, to be frank, I was a bit skeptical, right? But I pushed through, and I came up with something efficient. And but it leaves you exposed to alert fatigue, even though I minimize that by a good discipline, right? But if you don't have discipline, it's not gonna work well. Okay. So the second approach is to forget about the alerts and instead replace all the alerts by compact dashboards that are going to give you the equivalent of the alert and give you the contextual information. So it's much more efficient. You avoid alert fatigue. You don't use Outlook, which is not an alerting tool, to handle that. You use dashboard. It's not an standard alerting system, but now you are much closer, and most importantly, you get the alert or equivalent, and you get the contextual. So meaning that you have the two things you need to make decision and take action, right? So let's have a look at the setup of Outlook I used, right? I designed on this team lead request, right? And we're gonna see after that the other way. Okay, so the question is for you to be proactive, right? You cannot manage Guardium if you are not proactive. If you are just reactive, basically you will be constantly in trouble and dealing with dire situations. Okay, so for that you need to be proactive. It's to get to take the issue before it happens. Okay, so let's take an example with MySQL disk usage, because this is probably the and what we did was to define 3 levels of thresholds. Okay, 60%, 70%, and 80%. And we call them yellow for 60, orange for 70, and red for 80, with corresponding frequency. So when a collector is between 60 and 70, we receive an alert by email once a day. If it's 70%, between 70 and 80, it's twice a day. If it's 80, it's every hour. Okay, and you structure Outlook to mirror this. So you create a rule for each alert, and in this case here it's 3 alerts, not just one. Okay, so you got MySQL disk usage at 60% for 1 day frequency, 70, another one at 70% with twice a day frequency, and the last one 80% and with every hour frequency. So you've got 3 alerts, and you've got a folder for each alert. So you don't put that in a big bag, right? You set up the rule in Outlook to send the email and the alert in a dedicated folder. So, as a result, you got, in terms of structuring the folder in Outlook, you've got basically two ways. So you've got in your inbox, you create a folder for the alert, and here you create subfolders. So you can create a folder per alert, and inside this folder you've got 3 folders, one for yellow, orange, and red, right? And you do that for each alert you have set up. Or, which I preferred, then actually I had alerts and I had 3 main subfolder, red, orange, and yellow. And inside the red, I had the red alert for the different alerts, right? And you do that for. But then I prefer this one, right? So I'm going to explain why. It's because you always start with the red ones, because they are the most urgent, right? So that way, with this stuff, I just go here and I look at how many alerts I have received for each of those alerts. Okay. So they are the most urgent, right? So that's why. But at some point, you should not have that many of red alerts, right? So when you fix a red alert, it should be in a way that puts the collector in a more sustainable state. And when it's in a more sustainable state, there is no reason for a red alert to trigger, right? So really, you start with the red one, but you should, I mean, the goal is to see the number of red one diminish, right? Okay, so once it's the number of red ones is low, so now you pay particular attention to the orange ones. And here you've got more time, right? You are not close to the disaster. So therefore you can look at the structural changes in the pattern, traffic pattern, or to try to explain the traffic ending up on a collector, and you can start devising a kind of plan in case this collector goes to red level. So that way, when it gets red, you are not taken aback and by surprise. You have already something. Right? Bon. Last thing, it's Guardium introduced alerts based on growth rate. This is a nice evolution of the Guardium alerting system, but it still doesn't protect from alert fatigue, and it's still quite far from a standard alerting system. So, yeah, of course, use that, right? But it's not going to fix the alert fatigue issue. It's not going to fix the lack of contextual information. So it may reduce maybe some because if you've got a growth, right? For example, 30% growth. Yeah, it's great. You have to understand that. But if it's going from 10% to 40%, where is it a problem? It's not really a problem yet. Maybe it's just a bump, right? And it's gonna stay at that level. So it's why it's the contextual information is very important, right? And the alert is not sophisticated enough to provide you with that. Okay, so it's why there is another way, right, where basically you forget about alerting, or you keep the alerts only for really dire stuff, right? And you may just the last kind of layer, right? But it's basically you try to replace the alerting system by dashboards, using SonarG, Guardium Insight, or Context 22 add-on for Guardium. So what you get when you use those systems to manage performance information and replace the alerts are really centered on the buffer usage monitor report. And this time, the buffer usage monitor report gets ingested centrally in those systems. Okay, so it's not now the email going to all team members who have to manage that personally into their personal computer Outlook and email system. It's centrally ingested. Okay, and here you can develop meaningful dashboard which are going to give you the equivalent of an alert. I'm gonna show you, but also the context. Right. So you don't have a strenuous management of your Outlook. Okay. So dashboards are actually way more efficient than email and Outlook as a tool for managing alerts. Right. And you get contextual information by default. Right. For example, if you complement the buffer usage monitor information with full SQL, it's going to just be there. You won't have to go anywhere. It's going to be there at the same time as you've got the information about a dire situation somewhere, right, on some collector. But of course, you need to watch those dashboards frequently. For example, I got into when I implemented this system, I got in a routine, getting in the morning, right, and look at my dashboards, and it will tell me what happened during the night. It will tell me the state of, and it will give me also a global vision or global view of the state of. And watching those dashboards frequently, and I did that in the morning and after lunch, right? And sometimes just before leaving, just to get an idea if it's something bad happen or can potentially happen. Okay, so but this requires you to be proactive. Okay, but now you don't have alert fatigue. This is gone, right? So how I'm going to show you just two examples of dashboard. I've got some videos on these more detailed. So here I'm going to just show you those two ones. So here, let's start with this one. So for those who have watched my video previously, they're gonna recognize the metadata to blah blah blah. And here, so this is a MySQL disk usage for each collector, right? And the maximum over a period of time. Okay. And since you are interested by what's going on recently, right? So the period of time doesn't have to be several months, right? It's just a few hours or maybe one day, and the maximum is really what you are interested in. So you can see that two collectors stick out, right? This one has 80%, and this is the equivalent of alerts. You know that here. You can also have this diagram, right, or chart, and where you order the collector per size, I mean for how full they are. And here you can see that quickly those two are the ones you need to take care. Here much less, right? But at the same time it gives you the information, contextual information of where you can redirect some of the traffic going there and there to other collectors, because here you've got collectors which are not empty but probably a little bit underused, right? And by playing with metadata, you can devise your plan quickly, right? So this is the first dashboard. Another dashboard is this one, which is going to give you a time series, right? So an evolution within in time. And if we look at the one we are interested in, right, average of MySQL disk usage, then here it's pretty flat because those are test data. But you can look at for this one, for example, 103, right? So I'm gonna look at 103 more specifically, right? And I can see an evolution, right? And I can have additional information. This is the context, right? So, for example, the analyzer QLength, it's going to tell you if this collector is under stress and have trouble processing everything, right? Here, the analyzer, right, you can see a growing rate, indicating that you get more and more traffic and so forth. This is a 8.0 received, which also tells you how much you receive, and you can see a trend, right? And then now you have all the information just you need, right, to take action. And once again here, right, if we go here on this one, this is 50 collectors. You know, it doesn't take that much room. And if you've got even more, you know, it's the bar gonna be narrow. Well, right, that's it. So it's pretty simple to handle the alerts and the contextual information you need to fix an issue by having dashboard taking advantage of the buffer usage monitor and full SQL, which I showed in another video. I'm not going to show here. Okay, so this takes us to the end of this presentation. If you have questions or anything, you can join us and contact us on those things, right? On LinkedIn, it's cool. Just look for Context 22, and you're gonna go there. And if you want the deck of this presentation, just email us at info@context22.com. Have a good day.